everybody. This is Raul Ramirez of the Catch Wrestling Alliance, where we help you elevate your grappling and then together we keep real wrestling alive. Thank you very much for listening or watching on our YouTube channel. I'm not in my usual place. I'm in a guest place right now because I had some, I guess, like some major plumbing issues in my apartment. So they have to drill into the ground and fix some pipes and stuff. So I can't be there. So I'm at a guest place right now. So anyway, at least it was furnished, and I got these nice little pillows behind me. If you're watching the video, very comfy. But anyway, so let's start to get into it. So UCLA is coming up again pretty soon for students who are interested in training with grappling and kickboxing, catch wrestling, sanda stuff. That should be coming up in like later September. Also, if you're in the Los Angeles area, you feel free to come train with us at Fight Science MMA, Mid-City, Los Angeles. So that's like right in the middle of the city. Feel free to come train, come try it out. You don't have to join the gym or anything. You're free to just drop in. That's totally fine. You don't have to join the gym. The only thing you have to do is sign the waiver. And let me see. Oh, yeah. If you're not in those areas and you want to train online, CWA Academy on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. If you just want to support us, or if you want to get some extra videos, you can join our YouTube channel. That's like the channel memberships that they have going on. We have tons of extra videos there for you to watch. We post more every month, so that's there for you to look at. It should have some instructional stuff as well, like usually answering people's questions. Are going more in depth in some things. We also have some presentations up there that we did. Like we did a demonstration in the home of Frank Gotch in Iowa. So we have a bunch of other videos up there as well. So it's not just instructional stuff, but if you're a channel member, and to all channel members, thank you. And yeah, feel free to ask questions at any time. We can always go over any question you have. So yeah, totally up to you. You kind of shape it based on your needs and your interests. All right. And then, one last thing. So if you know something very well and you want to teach it, then Kajabi is a good way to do it. It's an online platform. You can host your online classes and whatnot. So in the description box below, you can get a free month so you can test it out and stuff. Yeah. So it would help out this channel if you joined. So, but yeah, there's no commitment or anything. So feel free to check it out, especially if you've been thinking about starting any kind of online teaching or anything like that. It's really one of the all-in-one places where you get a bunch of functionality all in one place. All right. So with that being said, let's kind of get to the meat and potatoes of the topic. It's like, what are we seeing? And so it's like in jiu-jitsu, it's kind of had this evolution where a lot of people were thinking of it as this bottom game, and all a long time ago, people were talking about the self-defense aspect. What if you're the smaller person and they take you down? And you still see this in a lot of women's self-defense classes that are run by people who do jiu-jitsu, where it's all about I'm going to throw you down, and I'm in your guard already, and you're going to do some kind of sweep or arm bar or something like that. So that was kind of the predominant understanding of jiu-jitsu, and still a lot of bottom game is still very prevalent, especially in a lot of different schools. And what did we see, especially, and actually, yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about this. So I was going to say, especially in the Craig Jones Invitational, what did we see? And the thing is, so many people saw it. Why? It's something I've been talking about for the longest time, is Because it was free on YouTube. It's like anybody could see it. So that actually, so then just because of that, Craig Jones helped Grappling tremendously by putting big names on a platform that anyone around the world can access for free, right? That is the huge help. I think just over the decades, since like boxing has been pay-per-view and all these different things, so then MMA felt like they had to be pay-per-view, and then a lot of different things where, so like even the Olympics in the United States, it's like if you wanted to see everything, they wanted you to pay a monthly fee for an app for one of our networks. And so it's like that is kind of that's the trend, but ultimately it doesn't really like help, right? If we're if everything's behind a paywall, it's like people aren't ever really going to see the product, or they're just going to see clips here and there, and they're not going to understand, and you're not going to build up all the different understandings of the different people who are doing the sport. So that kind of it doesn't help your cause, right? That's why, like, say one championship was really great when all the stuff was free. Now they're kind of doing some stuff like say, like, if you don't have Amazon Prime, you might not be able to see some of the events or stuff like that. So I think it's a little unfortunate. But anyway, so many people saw the CJI, and it was like millions of people. So in that way, I think that's why so many people know about what happened, and so that point's out of the way. I've said it many times where it's like, yeah, you do want to make these things free. That's why I say, like, our catch wrestling events are free. We film it and then put all the matches up, so anybody can see it, anybody can enjoy, and that's what really helps the sport, right? All right, so what are some of the trends that we found? Well, Top Game is really what people are using. They've kind of discovered that, well, in this case, right? So going back to the whole analogy of the self-defense classes, where they tell women to put guys in guard and in their guard and whatnot. Well, in both divisions, actually, so we had people using or trying to people who tried to stay on top. They ended up winning. All right, you can go back and watch all these things, all the matches and stuff if you want. We had two people trying to pass guard, two people who tried to stay on top, winning overall. And then, but say in the final of like the was it under 80 kg division, Ruotolo, he was up against a guard player who made it to the final, which was it shows like the kind of the effectiveness of guard, but ultimately, like, not only in the eyes of the judges, like the person who's on top will tend to win, but what can you do while you're on top? That's kind of what kind of separates it, right? So what do we see with Nicky Rod? We saw him win by submission for every match. And so there's a kind of a few things that I kind of want to talk about where so like some people, so let's go and talk about one thing at a time. First one, people with really good guards. There were some statistics showing where like people who were on top didn't necessarily get the submission if someone's guard is really good. We kind of saw that in the Ruotolo match, but ultimately, if there are ways, there's definitely many ways to get the submission hold, and so we saw Nicky Rod actually do that. He was able to get past people's defenses and ultimately get a submission win every time. So, which was fantastic. But then, with that being said, what about all these other people who were competing? So we did have in both divisions people who were trying to wrestle, and we even had a very well-known amateur wrestler, Nolf from Penn State, and also we had like another Nittany Lion competitor. But yeah, we also had a judo guy, Owen Lively from England. So why did the jiu-jitsu people win, basically? So um, people might argue where it's like Nicky Rod was a wrestler first, and now he has his jiu-jitsu black belt, but he's mainly wrestling. That's why he's a top guy and this and that. But then what did we see in Nolf's match? So Nolf got eliminated the first match, and then you got to ask, like, why did that happen? And it's not just because he was up against one of the Ruotolos, right? There's more than that, because I think what we're seeing from the judo people and the amateur wrestlers is somewhat similar, and some jiu-jitsu people are trying to adopt some of these things, which I don't think they really have to. It's a lot of these like foot sweeps, or if you get a takedown, kind of disengaging. I think that's one of the main things that's the main trend you're also seeing, which I think is kind of useless, is a lot of these foot sweeps and without follow up. Right. So if you want to foot sweep someone, see if you can't make the ending of your foot sweep be where you land on their back or past their guard, or just on top of them somehow. So the person so if you're a grappler, you're listening to this or watching this, see if you can't make that be the end of your submission, or the end of your takedown, right? Especially if it's a foot sweep or a trip or something like that. We actually have say like if you've seen some of our shorts, like our highlight videos from Helen Maroulis from United States Freestyle Wrestling. She's really great at trips and sweeps. But say like even her gold medal, her bronze medal match in this past Olympics, she basically got it on like this kind of fireman's trip kind of thing that she ended up doing from the 2-on-1. She was able to go underneath, but she still had her legs straight, so blocking her opponent from stepping over it. So stuff like that is going to serve you better than just like tripping someone and then like having them maybe fall down in front of you and then they pop right back up, because then you're back at square one, you're back at neutral, so you have to start again. So really, I would say if I was a judge, I wouldn't give any points for that, because it was and actually, yeah, even in freestyle, folk style, you don't get points until you get the control. Right? So you show that you've taken them down, and you have control of them, right? So you got to be thinking in that way, because not only are you thinking about points, especially in like especially like ADCC, which has a lot of points, you want to make sure that you are actually trying to win, like say like by submission or by pin, right? Depending on whatever event you're doing. So you want to really try to follow up with that. Don't just sweep someone, because it doesn't seem like it really counts for much anyway when we're talking about point systems even. So maybe in the eyes of the judges, where they're talking about like controlling someone or trying to dominate them or whatever. But even then, I personally wouldn't be, and just because it's me, right? I personally wouldn't necessarily be impressed by that. I wouldn't necessarily give points or anything for it. So think of something else. I think of some other kind of like follow through, because you ultimately want to win, and just by maybe tripping someone and having them fall down and pop back up, it's almost like a waste of energy. It's not almost, it is a waste of energy ultimately. So try to follow up. So, but you see, say like in judo, and also even amateur wrestling, sometimes you shouldn't, but maybe some people who play the point games, you'll take someone down, let them up, and you kind of rack up takedown points, especially now in college, right? The takedowns are worth 3 points now. So getting trying hard for a pin might be like a waste of energy in your mind, right? So you if you're good at getting the takedown, you take him down like 3-4 times, and that's like over 10 points, right? So in freestyle wrestling, if you get 10 points more than the other person, then you win. So yeah, you can get a tech fall, right? So technical superiority. So I think that's one of the reasons why, like, say, amateur wrestling styles and amateur wrestlers, they're not completely dominating grappling events, right? So you kind of get so used to doing your rule set in amateur wrestling. There's a lot of great things about amateur wrestling, but you get so invested in playing in the game within the rules, then when you go out of that rule set, then yeah, you can you might lose, right? We had Pat Downey also not making it too far. I think he won one or two, which, yeah, just winning and being there, it's always tough. You got to respect everyone just for going out there, but it would be good to see them do better, right? So get even further. That'd be great. All right, let's go and check out some questions here. So, Taquero Man, did you enjoy CJI? Yes. Yeah, I totally liked it. And like I said earlier, it's like I loved that it was live streamed on YouTube for the whole world to see, which is great. I didn't hear that they blocked it. Like on YouTube, I think you can set it where you can block certain countries from viewing it or something. But I think that's like more if it's like you got some corporate sponsorships or something like that. But I didn't hear that they did anything like that. So I'm sure that everyone in the world could see, because basically it seemed like everyone in the world was talking about it, which was great. So I think that was a big boost for no-gi grappling. Okay, why doesn't catch wrestling recruit more collegiate wrestlers? So I kind of just mentioned that. So it would be great if after they got out of college that they would jump into catch wrestling, but they don't. One of the main reasons why is because jiu-jitsu really built up that infrastructure. Sometimes they're thinking about doing MMA, or sometimes maybe even pro wrestling or whatever. So probably more like MMA, and maybe sometimes, like we're kind of seeing now a little bit more and more, them kind of getting into the amateur wrestling. So maybe even, like jiu-jitsu stuff, like the no-gi, which then because like jiu-jitsu is such a dominant thing, and especially say like if you're in a big city like Los Angeles, we got jiu-jitsu. I personally actually have like 2 jiu-jitsu studios on the same street, so basically walking distance. So they're everywhere. So they got the infrastructure there. They got everything set up, so you can just jump in and so it's, and catch wrestling, very few like truly like legit people who aren't just repackaging folk style and jiu-jitsu together, so, and doing a lot of like show holds. So then we don't necessarily, like, catch wrestling doesn't necessarily have that infrastructure there set up. So it would be great. But then also too, it's like sometimes one of the other things that isn't necessarily talked about as much is the mentality, right? So sometimes if they're a big shot in their college, maybe they're thinking about like that their way is the best way, and these jiu-jitsu people, they're just not good. They don't grind as much and whatever. But then it'd be great if even the collegiate wrestlers were winning, but it's not really what we're seeing. And even like was it Flow Grappling? I think it might have been a couple years now, but they did this thing where like after having invited like all these really great collegiate wrestlers, and I think like they all lost like by submission in several of their events, right? So there it's like, so there's all these different layers. You got some mental layer where they might still think that, like, and you shouldn't necessarily think about superiority. You should think about like adjusting to a different game, right? Adjusting to a different rule set. So you got to kind of strike down that kind of ego and kind of understanding there's a different game you're playing here that your wrestling could help you with, but we're not quite seeing that happen at these levels, right? So yeah, we got all these things. Right? It'd be great if they would jump into catch wrestling, but even then, you'd want to make sure that as you're coaching them, that you yourself understand the modern no-gi game, and so that you can help prepare them for ways that they might be attacked in no-gi, right? So there's a lot of things that are there, but yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. But yeah, it depends on just like what I'm saying. I kind of just alluded to, or it's like sometimes the attitude of the person just is like doesn't allow them to change out of what they're used to. So there's all these different like roadblocks, but if they can get past them, then I think that you can get some amateur wrestlers doing very well. All right, next one. Let's see. Okay, Taquero Man. Top game is definitely the safest way to grapple to prevent any injury. Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot to that, where it's like, say, like especially if you're like in guard, and you're bearing all their weight. The front of our body isn't necessarily designed to bear that much weight, but if we are in turtle, right? So if we're in our referee's position, our body is structured in a way that we can bear weight and we can escape, right? Or we can counter. So that is very true. But yeah, even then you gotta be careful about leg locks and stuff. So yeah, there's always a danger, and that's the thing too. It's like a lot of people were shocked with the Olympics where Kennedy Blaze got that beautiful suplex, and so all these comments are like, should this move be banned and all that, even though it's like the logo of USA Wrestling. So no, just I don't know, just chill out, because it's a beautiful move, and it's very wrestling, because if you do it well and your opponent ends up on their shoulders. All right, next question. Oh, actually, so that just kind of moved into the next question. Taquero Man, wasn't catch wrestling in the Olympics previously? Could it be reintroduced? Yes, it was amateur catches, catch can, and the name changed over the years to freestyle. So amateur catches, catch can is still in the Olympics. So, but it is much different nowadays, right? You have a 6-minute match, 2 3-minute periods, or 2 3-minute halves, and a lot of points. So point structure, where they basically make it so the match is done by the end of the 6 minutes. If someone doesn't get the tech fall or the pin, so it is a far cry from what catch wrestling is and was, but there's a lot of things that need to be done to make sure, or to get a sport into the Olympics. So you need men and women doing it. You need it to be practiced all over the world. You need some governing body. You need a bunch of different things. So I guess it could be reintroduced. Yeah, it could be, because it's like, yeah, freestyle's gone so far away from the root or the origin. So yeah, possible. Golden Ruffian, are you near San Diego? At times, but I'm in Los Angeles, Los Angeles. Yeah. Are you in do you ever come to LA, Golden Ruffian? Feel free to come train with us. All right, Taquero Man, why don't you think we use more cranks in jiu-jitsu or no-gi? Just because it's not trained. So That's one of the main reasons. You're going to see, or like, you're going to see people who supposedly know cranks or whatever. They will, like, say you kind of you return to what you train. So if you're doing jiu-jitsu all the time and you get someone's head, a lot of times you're not necessarily going to be cranking it. You're going to be going for some rear naked choke or something like that. So that's why you don't see it so much. So that became the dominant technique to try if you're on someone's back or whatever. So yeah, you're not going to be seeing many cranks, and that's why it's like, at least in my personal opinion, rolling at different places. If someone tries to do a rear naked choke on me, it's like, or if they, not a rear naked choke, but if they try to do some kind of neck crank, it doesn't seem as effective. And usually I'm able to just like push it off or whatever. So I did a personal lesson like just a few weeks ago. There's a grappler here in Los Angeles that was going to do, I think, like a pro grappling thing. And so we kind of, that was one of the things we worked on, where it's like showed him how to do a neck crank that's effective, right? So he was doing like the jiu-jitsu way of a crank that maybe it's your average person, but there's a better, more effective way. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see it in jiu-jitsu or no-gi, because their default is rear naked choke. So even if they learned cranks, you're always gonna go to your default setting, right? So all right, Golden Ruffian, I would love to come train and interview you. I'm from Florida and I'm going to San Diego in November. Okay, well, keep in touch. You can always message me, or we can always do it online, or we can see if we can't find a way, because San Diego is not too far away from Los Angeles. So yeah. Taquero Man, thoughts on DDP's face crank over Adesanya? Is that the Diamond Dallas page? No, actually, I don't. I mean, I know who Adesanya is. Is that a recent MMA match? I probably didn't see it. I haven't been watching MMA as much. I've been watching a lot more. Of course, like you see, I watched like almost every single Olympics match for freestyle. Like all the men's and women's matches, there were like tons. So yeah. So no, I haven't really been watching much MMA. I've been watching some kickboxing though, but Taquero Man, when you okay, DDP seems to apply a catch wrestling approach. I wonder who his grappling coach is. I don't know who DDP is. In your next message, can you put? I'm sure everyone, if anybody's listening to this, like, you all know, right? You're probably all watching UFC. So, but yeah, sorry, I don't know. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Okay, so yeah, I really kind of fallen out watching all those UFC matches. Even on One Championship, I really haven't been watching as many. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to look it up. But that's the thing, where it's like going back to the beginning of this whole live stream, talking about like putting things on YouTube for free for everyone to watch. It's like, yeah, if I missed a UFC thing, I probably can't see it now, even if I wanted to look up this neck crank, because UFC tries to tear down a lot of if you post stuff from them, like they try to tear down or take down your videos. Best way to contact, message. Yeah, good question. I don't know. I'm not just kidding. You can totally do that on, like our Instagram, or I think our Instagram has like a way to check. Let me. I'll pull it up here. Let's see. I think there's like a message button on the Instagram. Let me see. Yeah, message. Let me see. Contact. Yeah, contact. You can get our email. Yeah. So either way, yeah, I'd probably say Instagram. Instagram would probably be good. And then maybe comment on one of our posts or something, and then like that you did message, so that I know, so that I don't, because like sometimes, yeah, if it's like a stranger, that you might not even get notified that they messaged you. So Durivas Duples. Yeah, I don't even know. And I kind of like, because yeah, it's like all like, so when I was watching UFC more, there was a local cafe like just a few blocks from me where I used to live, and they always had the pay-per-view on for everyone to watch. But after that, it's like, no, I kind of fell out. Cool. We'll go ahead and keep asking questions. But yeah, so the main thing is like, so now even in these other weight divisions, so in even in ADCC, you had some winners, even with lighter weight. I think the 77 kilogram division, that was Mika. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, yeah, there's kind of a breakdown of his style, and um, uh, again, more of a top player. So you are seeing these things, and you also saw, say, like talking about the Ruotolo brothers trying to pass, like from kind of more dynamic passing. That definitely will require some athleticism. So if you're not feeling like doing backflips and such around, if you saw that, like if you feel like you're not necessarily able to do all these kinds of athletic moves and stuff, or trying to shoot in from far away and seeing if you can't pass their guard like dynamically, then you got to be working on your like pressure passing, your so like getting on, like we kind of talked about it recently too, where it's like the leg lace, all these different ways to lock them up, see if you can't pass their legs, working your way up their bodies, passing their guard ultimately, whether it's taking the back or going around front to pass the guard into side control. You got to be working these things in that way if you're not like crazy athletic or crazy acrobatic. So there's different things to take into consideration when you're talking about like your game and like becoming a better grappler or elevating your grappling skills. Think about what you got to work with right now with regards to your own body, and then that should better inform you as to like what you can do. But a lot of times, usually trying to use that pressure passing stuff would probably be the way to go if you're not so crazy athletic. Oh, good question. What kind of stuff are you working on in your game right now? So, very good question, because it's kind of the stuff I was mentioning right now. So just in case you didn't know, I spend a lot of time training at 10th Planet headquarters, and so get a lot of good chances to roll with some really great people. Quite often, say if you go to Eddie Bravo's classes, the classes where he's the lead, or the one where he's the instructor, you get a ton of really great, like higher level belts and stuff, who take those classes. And like what I've been seeing, like that is really like the whole idea of if someone's coming at you in open guard, kind of shutting it down using kind of like the leg lace principles. That seems to be working very, very well. to shut down their open guard. So then you can try to pass, like kind of like just how I described, either going back or passing over the legs, going to side control. Um, that, so if anybody's interested in that, I did a whole series on it. It's on our website called Pressure Pass Volume 2. So kind of show the breakdown, how like, so different ways, not only from like getting that take. Oh, and that's actually, it's pretty crazy. Like that series that I did, I actually do a lot of that, and I think that's why I did that whole series, because even for people who want to start standing up, a lot of times getting that the low single or your fireman's carry is very, very effective. What are one of the things? Oh yeah, so actually one of the things that happened recently in the Olympics, where it was, I think it was like it was a men's match. I think it was Iran versus Japan, where I think the Japanese guy was trying to push the Iranian out, and then right at the edge, the guy does like a leg lift, like kind of what the judo people call uchimata, and then it started this whole debate on, with the judges and all that, of like who initiated the throw or whatever. But that stuff really works if you're using like, if you're not going into guard, if you don't want to go into guard, and someone is like trying to take your back, and maybe you whizzer and stuff like that, and if they're really coming around back trying to, and you're on your knees, like you're in ref, doing what the Iranian did, kind of like getting that uchimata stuff, gets them back over, and a lot of times they might fall underneath you. Stuff like that. It's really been, well, it's been working for me, and so I think we talked about it in the John Strickland interview that I did a few weeks ago, where if you're using something where it might seem kind of weird or not as common, if you're working it and trying to use it on everyone regardless of skill level, then you can actually, it's really great to try to work out these things on someone with a higher belt rank, or with a lot of skill, because then then they can kind of give you like the way they defend will help you to understand all different aspects of your technique, right? So if they react a certain way, then you got to learn, because they give you another thing to think about, right? So then you can try to evolve to have your move be effective in a lot of different scenarios. And then beyond that, of course, double wrist lock stuff. I think that works also really well. Yeah. Double wrist lock, leg lace, low single, fireman's, the Russian, or they call it the Russian 2-on-1, but I really like kind of like holding it, because a lot of times when you squeeze it to your body, then usually the person's natural reaction is to kind of pull their arm back, and that's when you can do all kinds of takedowns. Okay, next question. Golden Ruffian, what do you think of all the guard pulling in CJI? Actually, yeah. Well, one of the times that it was more noticeable is like when the big guys were doing it, right? It almost like, and it doesn't mean that a big guy can't be pulling guard or whatever, but it almost seemed kind of out of place, where you see this really big man like just sit down, and then still not necessarily be the most effective with keeping their guard and stuff. So that was kind of the end one there. Are you also kind of thinking about the final with Ruotolo and oh man, I forgot the Australian. Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate, but then hopefully it's kind of unfortunate that Ruotolo wasn't able to ultimately pass the guard, keep control, and gets a submission. But maybe that then from there, so he still won $1 million. So he doesn't necessarily have too much, I guess, like something to kind of like push him to try to work on like maybe more pressure passing stuff, or then working on getting past like these really difficult guards. But he might. Hopefully, we're gonna see. I don't want to say because I don't want to like tell him to like be less dynamic or do less acrobatic stuff, because all that stuff is really cool. And like a lot of people really like the Tackett versus Ruotolo match and all that. So, um, um, like all that athleticism, all that kind of thinking out of the box type stuff is fantastic. But then if you want to maybe try to see if you can, sometimes if you're up against someone, you have a longer match and someone's got a really difficult guard to pass, thinking about maybe switching your strategy. You can try your initial strategy at first. If it's not quite working, then switch to a different strategy, maybe pressure passing, to see if you can't just like shut down their guard and keep their legs out of your way. And then see if you can't keep control, of course, that pinning idea, and then see if you can't get a submission. But I thought it did look a little weird, especially when you see like these huge guys. Taquero Man. Is there up and coming female catch wrestlers who will break out in the no-gi scene in the near future? We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, because we did have a young high school girl she just graduated, but she's not going into catch wrestling or no-gi. She's actually going to University of Iowa to be a Hawkeye in women's freestyle wrestling. So yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm really happy for her, because Iowa, man, that's, if you're into wrestling, you know about Iowa. So it's really, really great place. I've been there, met the Brands brothers, and it just has a huge history. Dan Gable is, and we got Kennedy Blades going there now also. So it's really going to be a powerhouse for wrestling. It's probably going to be produced, and I think it did. Even this past time get it's gotten the most gold medals in wrestling. And people from Iowa and University of Iowa have gotten like the most gold medals in wrestling, as opposed to any other training place in the United States. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Taquero Man, I feel like French and Belgian catch wrestlers get forgotten a lot. Sure, because we're American, we don't like the French, right? So, and I think Belgians speak French too, right? So yeah, they're gonna get forgotten. No, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it'd be good to kind of look into them and see if they had any cool techniques. Actually, let me go and click on this one. So, do we have any French wrestling roots in modern wrestling today? Yes, it is the style called Greco-Roman. That was French wrestling. That was the most popular French. It was the most popular. It was one of the two most popular wrestling styles of that day when they started doing the modern Olympics again. So it was included, and they changed the name to, as far as I understand, they changed the name to Greco-Roman to pay homage, right, to the Greeks and the Romans, right? And so, that being said, yes, you get a lot of French influence today. I do wish that it was eliminated from the Olympics, because there's no women's division. I don't like the rules. I think you can't touch the legs and all that. So I think that's kind of like, in a way, it's like maybe judo, like keeping judo and getting rid of Greco. That's fine with me. I'm really not into it. So yeah, or if we can replace Greco with catch wrestling, even better. Golden Ruffian, what's the biggest obstacle to catch becoming more popular today? Biggest obstacle, Yeah, I'd have to think about that because there are many, right? So a lot of times, I think I've kind of noticed it now where, um, I think now that we've had different events and even Wigan's done a lot of good events. Then you're seeing a lot of different organizations try to have events, and then the rules are different, and um, all these almost like people not necessarily seeing it as one thing, and so then you're getting all like a wide variety of things being called catch wrestling, um, or you're seeing a lot of different emphasis on say like almost like we call it like the show hold aspect. So um, that would be one of the things as well, where it's like, say I get a lot of people coming in to train who've watched a lot of instructional catch wrestling videos, and they're not able to get any of the moves on anybody in the class, especially a lot of submissions, because you need to actually be pretty decent at wrestling to be able to control someone enough to get a lot of these submissions, right? So I think sometimes, or not sometimes, but I think those could be some of the main reasons as why it's not as popular. So, yeah. Speaking of Wigan, what did you think of their last event? Yeah, I only saw some of the highlights that they're showing right now. That is that the one you're talking about, the British Championship? Um, yeah, I enjoy that because um, that's our rules as well for Catch Wrestling Alliance matches. So you go for a neck crank instead of chokes and stuff. So um, that would be that's totally fine, and you get people going for pins and stuff. So it's going to be, or you're going to have a lot of matches that are more exciting than say like watching someone pull guard and stuff and defend from their guard. Um, so yeah, it's different. You get it's a little more dynamic, I think, sometimes. Okay, so let's see. Next question. Yeah, I read some article that French wrestling. So French wrestlers beat some Wigan guys from Wigan. Doesn't really specify who they were. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's totally possible. So like no one style is like completely invincible, right? So but say like for you like a person listening in general, then you're gonna want to try to find out what works best for you, right? So I think it's one of the reasons why say like if someone does Muay Thai and they get beat by a karate guy or a Taekwondo person, they don't necessarily change their style. Uh, Same thing. Actually, you see that a lot with Jiu-Jitsu, where it's like, say, if someone loses in to a wrestler, then they don't necessarily, quit Jiu-Jitsu and become a wrestler. Um, it's like a lot of times they feel like, oh, I got to go back and learn jujitsu even better, right? But I think over time there is kind of like this chipping away, at least with the wrestling aspect, where it's like kind of like the point of this whole live stream is that we're talking about like the top game now being like the way, right? The trend at least. And, I'm sure we might see people developing like these amazing guards, and then maybe a trend going back towards guards and stuff. But um, maybe not actually, because I think people are finding out. So people are winning millions of dollars nowadays with top game. So um, we'll see. We'll see. I think. Yeah, it should be interesting to see because yeah, you never know what's going to happen in the future, or how things are going to change in the future. So kind of like Taquero Man, how you're talking about like some French wrestlers were able to beat guys from Wigan. Sure, yeah, totally fine, and or like totally possible, because maybe their upper body throws were so good, right? Because that's what they focused on, and maybe they're able to get these slams and these suplexes and saltos and stuff. So because both of them can win by pin, so totally possible if they're used to that, if they're training only that one aspect, that they become really excellent at it. So who knows? I mean, I don't know what happened, but it's totally possible. So because it's one thing to kind of be well rounded, but yeah, you're always going to you're not going to be able to do everything, right? So you're not going to be an expert in everything, but you got to try your best to know some really great fundamentals and see if you can't, like in a match or in sparring, see if you can't bring your opponent into your game, right? So into your strength, right? So I've been personally really liking when people come at me in seated guard, because quite often I can try to get them into that whole a leg lock or not, a leg lace thing that I was kind of alluding to. I can get most people into it nowadays. Yeah. So, but again, like say, like again, all these things take practice. So that's why maybe a French person just practicing all upper body takedowns. You don't want to. If that's not your thing, you definitely don't want, or if you know that about, say, like if you're in a match and like, oh, they're a Greco guy, you don't really want to stand up with them, or you don't want to allow them to get a body lock, or there's things to kind of know. So then, yeah, like how I said a couple minutes ago, see if your approach to the match, try to get your opponent, regardless of their style, into your strength. All right. Cool. So hopefully that kind of gave some people some ideas about like what are the trends, and it seems like maybe ultimately the whole wrestling thing is kind of chipping its way into no-gi, but like amateur wrestlers still have a little ways to go before they can even dominate. But also catch wrestlers still have a way to go because there's just so few, right? So it's sad that like how even Taquero Man was asking, oh, are we gonna get some amateurs into catch? Yeah, like there's like not even a infrastructure set up so much. So what I want to do though in the future, I actually already kind of planned it. So one of my students, Eric, he's the one that started in New Zealand, and then now he's moved over to Australia. I want him to also kind of talk about this whole aspect where it's like, why aren't the amateur wrestlers doing as well in no-gi? And I want him to talk to you about it, because he also understands freestyle very well. He's got like the freestyle coaching certification from USA Wrestling, and he has some insights, because in these other countries that don't necessarily have as much of a wrestling culture as the United States, he's been seeing that a lot of the wrestling stuff will work, and so that he goes in and kind of dominates, but his goal also is the idea of trying to raise the level of these other countries, all these people in other countries, but you can't raise it only by doing amateur wrestling. Usually the catch wrestling is what's going to really, really help. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to have him on sooner than later, probably within the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping. So, so let's go ahead and tease that. But then also, we've been talking for almost an hour, so hopefully, I haven't put everyone to sleep yet, or if this can be, you put this on to cure your insomnia. But anyway, if you're in the Los Angeles area, feel free to drop in. Fight Science MMA, If you want to help us out, you can join our YouTube channel as a member. We got plenty of extra videos. If you want to become a student, CWA Academy on catchwrestlingalliance.com. If you're on the East Coast, my buddy John Strickland on the East Coast in American Hook Wrestling. Also, if you we also have like these one-off courses. So like the Pressure Pass Volume 2 is a lot of what I've been using. So you can learn how to counter all the stuff I use if you get that. And if we ever meet and we roll or whatever, you can come at me with your open guard and I'll use it, right? And then you'll know different ways to try to counter my counter, right? And that's the fun of catch wrestling, really, right? Or even of all grappling, but catch wrestling is really one of these counter styles. So I'd be happy to see you use my moves. All right. Okay. So again, hoping that this really helps everyone kind of understand the modern grappling game, like different trends and how catch wrestling could really help that, because it is kind of I feel like authentic catch wrestling really is beneficial for it. And so I think it really can help you to elevate your grappling. And so ultimately, like, the goal is to keep real wrestling alive. So I think if we work together, right, we can achieve all our goals. All right. So thank you. And thank you, Golden Ruffian. And I'll look for your message. And thank you, Taquero Man, for all your comments and questions. All right. So we'll see you next time.